Hey everybody, welcome back. We have a lot to go over. We did hold the 5,200 level on ES, which was pertinent. We have to look at smart money, dumb money. Got asked a lot for that in the comments. Bitcoin's rolling over, ARM's down. We have some others that are down considerably, and we have to talk about Hood as well. So we have a lot to go over, and we really got to jump right into it. So first and foremost, we're just going to start here at the 1 minute mark. And what I want to do is just go to these key levels that we have marked off so that you can see where they are. And we can see that 130 level yesterday where we have the Fed speakers. We're all aware Kashkari spoke. And when he spoke, that was pretty much it. That marked the high. We did have the 830 sell-off for whatever reason. There it is. And then we just rallied. What's interesting is right around that 10-year, which is right when the 10-year came out. We were fighting that 5,200 in there when the 10-year bond market came out. I'm going to show you this chart, and if you've been around for some time, you've seen it before, but for those that are newer, you're going to want to watch this chart. You can create it yourself, but it's very, very helpful. So if we take a look, you can see the rallies, and then we can just see how we're acting. So we just watch these levels very carefully right up in here, 52.18, coming straight across. You can see those levels very, very clearly on what's going on there and how we just couldn't really go anywhere today. Now, as we know, May 14th and 15th is absolutely huge, right? We know what that is. That is PPI and CPI. Make sure you do subscribe because we're going to get really in depth on CPI and PPI on Friday and what the big change is that's going on out there right now. But if you look at the NASDAQ, nothing's changed. You're really in this trading range. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion on why I think this is happening. Let's just go to this hourly chart and just show these levels so you can see it before I clear them off. And what we're going to do is just look at the RSI for a moment. Now, this is going to be, in my opinion, pretty important for a couple reasons. Now, RSI is one of the clearest things that I look at just to determine are we overbought or oversold. And what you're going to see here is that we got over that 70 level, and then we undercut right here, and then this is what we're dealing with. Now, why is this important, and why should you care about it? Well, there's a couple reasons why I think you should care about it. Because I'm not so convinced as we're starting to see the tone of the market change. By tone, what are we saying? Well, we're not racing right up anymore. So now we start getting the, oh, well, that's it, we're going to crash again. And this is that volatility I was talking about, where people just believe there's only two ways for the market to go. You're either going to go up or you're going to go down. And the market doesn't work that way. It just doesn't do this or do this violently. It does a lot of this, right? And then what you're going to get from it is you're going to get opportunity to trade. Now, that opportunity sometimes is going to be a penny, and sometimes it's going to be $1, right? And I think what a lot of people are missing out on is the different levels of skill set that you need to start doing this. So I'm working on something that should be able to help people with this, but I was really thinking about this today. Everybody still thinks that like I'm a swing trader, I'm a day trader. No, your job is to make money. And if all you can make are the pennies until you're waiting for the elephants to start running, I should have said peanuts. That would have made more sense. If all you can do is make the peanuts while the elephants are running wild. A client used to say it to me a long time ago. It just stuck with me. But that would have made more sense. The analogy would have made more sense that way. But that's what you get. You're getting half an analogy. So if we see that, what am I getting at? All we're doing is working off the overbought. That is my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. You're entitled to disagree with it. But I really think that that's what we're saying. And it's certainly something that I want to point out, because if that's what we're doing, then all we need to do is what we're doing, which is what? Let's just trade what's actually happening. If we look at the cues, was this a really bad day? No, it's a bad day because we're seeing that our names might not be moving up in the rate that we're used to. And that's okay. That's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that we have a problem. So if we just dive into this just a little bit more before we go further. Let's go to this plane button. We have no volume because nobody really wants to trade, because everybody wants to wait for CPI and PPI and see what it is. So we had that initial move and that initial jump up, and now we're just seeing the sideways action. But this is where it gets really interesting. In front of us is smart money, dumb money. And I'm going over this because of your comments and people wanted an update. And also there's a reason to give an update. But we don't refer to this as smart and we don't refer to this as dumb. What we refer to this as institutions, and we refer to this as retail. And we're seeing this cross. Now, for those that are newer, welcome. And the one thing that I like to do is I like to explain what this is so that you can understand how to utilize it. But the important thing is that when smart money is rising, which this is, then the market tends to rise. And we can see that very clearly here. If we just see the smart money start to rise, as long as we're selling down, we tend to go forward. And we can see it over and over again. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? And what happens too are these points of confluence. And I pointed these out earlier. And the reason I pointed them out about, a week ago was we just had this one back here. I guess it was a little over a week ago. And now we're having, because this one was concerning because it's the exact opposite of what you want. But if you look at when this kicked in, and we'll just mark this off so you can see it. So we'll mark that right there, and then we'll mark where that fit right there. And once you close there, you can see that peak. Well, now you're getting the other side of that close right here. And when we get that, that tends to mark a bottom. And it doesn't always mark a bottom because not always everything works. But when we see these spots, these points of confluence, they tend to mark bottoms. It doesn't mean that you're just going to rally. It doesn't mean that. It just means that, hey, you're getting a little bit of more buying on the retail side than you're getting selling on the selling side by institutions. Therefore, if you have more buyers than are selling, it just makes sense that the market would go higher, right? I mean, it's not crazy. If you have all of retail dumping and institutions aren't buying, it's not crazy to think that the market's not going to go higher, right? Right. So the antithesis is also true. If you have a situation where retail, and we know just by looking at this chart, you can see this as well, retail moves much faster than institutions. Institutions are just biding their time, and retail's like a cat in a hot tin stove, right? We're out, we're in, okay? And then meanwhile, retails or institutions are just like like they're taking their time, right? All right, so you see this level right in here? Once you flip these are places of interest. Now, it's not a be-all, end-all. In other words, you still have to deal with your macro leg. You still have to deal with your fundamental leg. You still have to deal with your technical leg, right? And we are all aware that this is a pretty awful stool, but you get it. And so what does this mean? Well, we're still going to wait to see what happens, obviously. And we still have earnings to contend with. But if we spend some time looking at this, look at it year to date, here's your cross to the down, here's your cross to the up. This is getting weaker. As institutions sell and retail buys, the market goes higher. It's just a fact the way that these are lined up. And you can go back over 5 years to see it. It doesn't matter. Even during the Fed when they were giving away free money, it doesn't matter. You're still going to see it everywhere in here. You can go back 10 years and you can see these spots anywhere, 2019, and it's going to denote the same thing. So whenever I find something like this, I want to pay attention to it. I'm a big believer in not telling the market what it's going to do and allowing the market to tell me what it's going to do. And that has bode well for me. And then what I do is I just simply manage what happens. So when I look at something like the Qs and I see this volume, which is really pathetic. Now by pathetic, if you just kind of, here, let's get this line and we'll just drop it down here so you can see. That's the line that you have on the NASDAQ today for volume. You have literally no buyers. Nobody is doing anything. And now what I would expect with the way earnings came out tonight and what we're seeing, I think it's going to be like this with light volume until we have the CPI. That's what I think we're going to deal with here. So if we take a look at that and we just kind of start going through this stuff and looking at the SPY and seeing how the SPY's doing, let's mark this off here so you can see it as well. Look at the volume, right? As that lady on Wendy's used to say, where's the beef? You just don't have any volume at all. A matter of fact, if you really go through this and you want to talk about like how bad the volume is, this is where you'd have to go to. You have to come all the way back to here, like November 21, something down here. And even then, I don't think we're there. So this is a big deal. And what this is telling you is, this is telling you the significance of what you're saying, of that number. Okay, so the number that is coming out next week is really significant, but we have to get through tomorrow, right? We have to get through tomorrow and we have to get through the next day. And that's what these videos do. They link the whole week together and then give you the playbook for the beginning of next week, right? That's how we always start them off with and if you're in the community, you know that I do the private like week ahead video, but it's the same thing. It's just different. But the reason for it is so that you have a game plan going forward. If you don't have a game plan and you don't have a roadmap, how do you know where you're going? So if you take a look at what we're seeing in Bitcoin, we've been talking about the rejections over and over again. One of the things I've been shorting is block, and candidly, it's just not working. It's just going sideways, and it's been going sideways since it broke. So I got out of the short, and sometimes things aren't going to work. I know a lot of people think that people only, show things that don't work. Things don't work for me, and it's just the way that it is. They don't always work. I did a trade tonight. I did a trade on ARM, and candidly, it just did not work. I thought it was a great quarter, and by the time I got through the Q&A, I finally heard what Goldman said about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand what my issue is now, and I'll get to the earnings later. But I think it's a really important distinction that when you see people and they show these videos, people take losses, and that's the game, right? The goal is to just take smaller losses and less of them and take bigger winners. But we are starting to see some of this risk off, aren't we? And if you take a look at gold, and this is where I think it gets interesting, if we're worried about inflation, why is gold dropping? If we're worried about inflation, why is silver dropping? What about crude oil? What's crude oil doing? Imploding, broke the 55. We're below 80. If we're worried about inflation, why is this happening? If we go and take a look at copper, copper's on fire, right? We have our inverse head and shoulders. We went over this a month ago. All right, so what does all this mean and where are we going with this? This is where you're going with it. You have an event that's going to happen in a week. Tomorrow, the only thing that I can say is what we did today in the room was understand that you're going to be trading and this is what you have. And so you're in an environment which I refer to them as tough penny environment. And what that means is you take it when you have it. Now, for time's sake, I'm not going to go through some of these trades, but I am getting questions to go through more and more trades, and I think it is helpful. But I do think that when we look at something like this, and you look at NVIDIA today, and these are just all my day trading levels that I have set up in front of them, and you can always take a look at them for yourself. But we go over these pre-market live every single morning publicly. We're supposed to start at 8. We usually start a little later by the time I get my coffee. But again, test, retest, this is a key level, right? Look how we held that key level all day. So what you don't want to be is this guy, shorting going, we're going to break. We're definitely going to break. NVIDIA's going to zero. AI is a scam. It's just a Google bot, right? Or this, we're going to a bazillion. This time we're really going to rip, YOLO forever, or whatever you say when you're high-fiving your bros. So instead of that, maybe just look at the market and say, okay, what's going on? Well, we have resistance at 911.42 and we have support at 896, 897 level. So maybe I'll buy down here, okay, and I'll scale out here. So for my day trade today, I just did this. I did 2 simple day trades on this today, and I have a core position. And I'll just show you what I did. I'm not going to show the film, and I'm not going to show the timestamps now just for time's sake, but I can this weekend if it's of interest. But as soon as we undercut and rallied, I'm like, okay, I'm in. And then we popped. And then I scaled out of some, literally that fast. And then it came back down, and then it popped, and then I scaled out of the rest because we gap filled. I don't care about this because I still have a core position on, right? And then I just stayed away, and I left my core position on. And then when we retested this level, and then here's your test and your retest, I put the trade on. When we test VWAP, I blew it out. That's all I was doing today, was just pulling out little bits of money. I did add to some other larger positions that I'm holding for a large time and some of the other names not in tech today. And some of these names look great the way that they're setting up. But this is the market that you're in now. So if you have a low volume environment, you're not special. Your stock that you want to be in, it's not special, okay? And so you have to realize that, and you have to get in and you have to get out of them, okay? It's really that simple. That's what you need to do. If you take one thing from this video to help you for tomorrow for your trading, in, out, boom, I made money. And if you're not somebody that wants to scalp or make a couple bucks on a trade, go get a great book. I can recommend a lot of great trading books. Get a nice cup of coffee. Go for a walk, right? But don't think that you need to be out here building short-term 1 to 2 day swing trades. Every swing trade that I'm putting on right now, I'm looking out much longer term than next week. And the majority of them that I'm putting on right now, they are not high beta swing trades. Okay, I'm putting on lower beta swing trades that have already come out with earnings that are not tied to the market. They're not influenced the same way, I guess is the best way to say it. So I think that's really important for me to state before we go forward. If we take a look at Tesla, and I want to go through this is historically what Tesla does, and be aware of it. Lucid comes out, Rivian comes out, everybody says that it's the end of the world, and guess what? It's never the end of the world the day that Lucid and Rivian say it's the end of the world. And so we're going to see some action here, in my opinion. And this looks like pretty much a flush to me. And this is usually what we see. Now, sometimes we see this happen when we have like a more bearish environment, but I don't think that's why it's doing it. So I really like giving the one thing, take one thing away from it and giving you something actionable to focus on tomorrow. I think that that's a great way to add value, so I'm going to keep doing it. You can always comment below. If you are on the wait list, another batch just went out today. I think this batch has 3 days left to subscribe, and then that's it. So if you are on the wait list, just look for the email, because then they expire. And they really actually do expire. It's just not me saying that they expire. That way I can go to the next group of people and invite them. It's a one-man show, and it's staying that way. So it's really important that everything has a time limit on it. In regards to Airbnb, I want to go through some of these names that came out tonight. So Airbnb guided down. Now, overall, and I want to just put a caveat on this, I have a short position in this that I put on after hours. So I am short this right now. To me, this was an excellent quarter. And what I'm trying to figure out is how bad are future bookings? Because what companies can do is they can be creative. And I don't know why some of this wasn't passed to next quarter. So I don't know how bad next quarter actually is. And I'm not sure why it's so bad, but they lowered guidance. Usually what they'll do is they'll push some of this out, right? But they didn't do that at all. And I'm not really sure why. Now, you had mixed travel results already, right? You had bookings, which absolutely, was just a monster trade and did exceptionally well, right? And we're seeing this. And then you see Expedia, right? Which was just the picture of what a dumpster fire looks like. Like if you can picture a dumpster fire floating down the river, that was Expedia's numbers, right? They were just a disaster. So we're seeing this bifurcation. Now, we saw that with Airbnb tonight where they're just, things are not great. And then we're starting to see some real pressure here on the downside. And I think this is important for you to get. This is the norm, right? You're going to see this volatility. But I was never a huge fan of the company. I never really understood why it went up. Doesn't really matter. I mean, Boeing had to land an emergency landing and then the stock went up. So, you never know how a stock's going to act, right? But I would expect a lot of pressure on this, considering how high the price is versus earnings and growth, and now you're lowering growth. And I think that's a really important nuance. Now, on the flip side of that, we saw APP today, and you can see that they're just absolutely crushing it after hours. And this looks like you're ready to just, continue to rip people's faces off. So, and this was a really good quarter. I have no position in it. It's too thin for me to play after hours. This one, I won't go near it for that reason. So this is important. Let's get to the big dogs. So if we start getting into ARM, and this was a trade I did, and it just candidly did not work. Lost a couple bucks and just moved on. I was listening to the conference call, and it's based upon one division, and one division is going to be sequentially weak. So if I can never figure out why they're going down, I'll listen to the conference call and I'll listen to the questions. And as soon as I heard the one gentleman ask a question, I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's the issue, right? Because I understand this stuff. I've been doing it 25 years, but I'm not trained to know the specificity of something like an ARM, right? So when you see it, you can see where that guy's going with it. And then when he brings up the exact detail, you watch how the stock moves, and you can see when he nailed it. Because then everybody just went, oh, right? And here, let me show you it. And now I bought it on the dip, and I actually was up in it and trimmed some. I always do that, after hours trimming. So I made something on it, but the rest I lost like $2 on. But you'll see how this acts. And then all of a sudden, like right in here, you get these weird movements. And that was on the call. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, everybody got it. And that's when the dump happened, because everybody started to realize, okay, you're down sequentially on this one division, and it wasn't very obvious, but the call's over now. It's kind of disappointing because it was a great quarter and it was great revenue guidance, but that one thing is going to set them off. So I don't know how that plays out tomorrow. What I would do is watch this 93.89 and go from there. But again, these were not, I'm just pointing out, I'm trying not to find something decent, but like Beyond is Beyond, that was a disaster. EXAS after hours, absolute dumpster fire. I mean, there is just no stopping here at all. It's just literally straight down. And that's another trading strategy. Like after these conference calls, if they keep grinding down, that's usually how they go into 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. Hood, to me, I thought this was great. I thought it was a great quarter. I personally think the larger issue is the Wells notice. And I think that now that earnings are over, that's why you're seeing the pressure on it. But to me, overall, I thought this was a great quarter. They absolutely crushed. But when it started getting weak in here and was unable to form what started to be like a fairly decent kind of flag pattern, I just got out of the way, took my profit, and moved on with my life. But I did think that this was a good quarter. You do have that Wells notice that's hanging over you. TTD, it didn't really do much. So there's not really much for me to go over there. But for tomorrow, what I would do is I would watch the earnings and go from there. The majority of earnings this evening were not great. What you are seeing is the ones that are great, you are seeing follow through. This and you're seeing intraday follow through, which is kind of nice. So something like this provided a really nice day trade for us today, but you're going to want to watch these kinds of names tomorrow. Now, why am I saying you want to watch these tomorrow? Because it all ties back to what I said earlier here about smart money, dumb money, and how they're investing in the market, right? They are investing. At the same time, if institutions are pulling out and smart money is investing, you're going to have huge volatility. And that's what this is telling you. And that's the one thing you need to take away from this. So if the big dogs like the VSTs that you want to buy or the NVIDIAs that you want to buy and they pull back, you have to understand that they're pulling back because lack of buying, not because of massive selling. Therefore, the volatility to the downside presents buying opportunities. And then when they rally and the people that didn't listen to this video buy those breakouts, you're selling to them. That's it.